First, this afternoon, Gordon Brown's dramatic resignation announcement.
I have no desire to stay in my position longer than is needed to ensure the path to economic growth is assured and the process of political reform we have agreed moves forward quickly.
Within 2 hours, the Conservatives were making a new, improved bid.
We will offer to the Liberal Democrats in a coalition government the holding of a referendum on the alternative vote system.
And more drama, with meetings continuing into this evening. Our political editor, Michael Crick, is at Westminster.
Talks broke up at the Commons tonight a short while ago after a dramatic and exciting day. And we still have no idea who will form our next government.
And here, a reaction from Labour's Deputy Leader Harriet Harman, who's just come from those negotiations with the Liberal Democrat team. And we'll also be joined by a key member of the Shadow Cabinet, Michael Gove. The markets have been watching every move. Our economics editor, Paul Mason, is here. And we also speak to the French finance minister after a massive European bailout. And with Brown soon to be gone, who might succeed him as Labour leader? The newspaper columnist Andrew Rawnsley and Steve Richards look back at the political journey and the legacy of a prime minister as clever as he was taciturn. Good evening. At the end of a day of frantic political manoeuvring and the announcement by Gordon Brown of the end of his prime ministerial career, not a moment too soon for his political detractors. The pace and direction of the negotiations to secure a deal for government appear to be moving all the time. After Gordon Brown announced Labour was to begin formal negotiations with the Liberal Democrats, the Conservatives upped the ante, promising a referendum on a change in the electoral system. Lib Dem MPs are currently meeting to consider their options. Our political editor, Michael Crick, reports on the latest political gambles.
At 5 o'clock tonight came the news which may soon lead to the unblocking of this political crisis. Gordon Brown stepped out into Downing Street to announce that Labour was now in formal discussions with the Liberal Democrats to try and form a government. But then he revealed the dramatic twist that had led to those coalition talks starting.
I would, however, like to say something also about my own position. If it becomes clear that the national interest, which is stable and principled government, can be best served by forming a coalition between the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats, then I believe I should discharge that duty to form that government, which would, in my view, command a majority in the House of Commons in the Queen's speech and any other confidence votes. But I have no desire to stay in my position longer than is needed to ensure the path to economic growth is assured and the process of political reform we have agreed moves forward quickly. The reason that we have a hung parliament is that no single party and no single leader was able to win the full support of the country. As leader of my party, I must accept that that is a judgment on me. I therefore intend to ask the Labour parties to set in train the processes needed for its own leadership election. I would hope that it would be completed in time for the new leader to be in post by the time of the Labour Party conference. I will play no part in that contest. I will back no individual candidate.
So, dramatic news there. Gordon Brown resigning as leader of the Labour Party in order to help bring about a coalition government between the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats. How will the rest of politics react to that? How things had changed. This morning, when the Conservative negotiating team emerged from their latest talks at the Cabinet Office with the Liberal Democrats, it was all smiles. The Conservatives and Lib Dems seemed to be closing in on a historic deal.
And the negotiating teams are working really well together.
So you're
Thank you very much.
to come back here.
Good further progress has been made, and I'm now going to go and report on that to Nick Clegg and parliamentary colleagues. Thank you very much.
But behind the scenes, we later learned, Nick Clegg was also holding a secret meeting with Gordon Brown, which may explain why the Lib Dem team was being so tight-lipped. I don't think I've ever seen three politicians so silent.
Any news on electoral reform?
Not since IDS. So now the Liberal Democrat team have to go off and meet their MPs.
and also later on the party federal executive.
Their first meeting with Lib Dem MPs took place in the Commons Grand Committee room off Westminster Hall at lunchtime. Reporters gathered expecting a Lib Dem Conservative deal might be announced within hours. But when David Laws emerged, it was clear there were still problems.
Although we are very, very conscious of the need to make these decisions quickly, and that was a clear decision of the parliamentary party today, we also want to make sure that we get these matters right.
Liberal Democrat MPs have now been briefed by their negotiators. They've told the negotiators to go back and seek clarification from the Tories on a number of issues. But it's not really clear how much progress has been made so far and whether the Liberal Democrats have really been offered anything substantial on that tricky issue of proportional representation. Do you think you'll get what you want from this deal with the Conservatives on PR?
I don't know what the eventual outcome will be. You've seen the statement and we'll just judge it sensibly, constructively, every step of the way, as we always do.
Happy with the way things are going? How important is PR to all of this?
I think it's important, but it's not something to die in the ditch over at this stage. I think we can get something out of this.
On PR?
On moving the voting along in a different way, on AV or something like that. I think that's a possibility.
Do you think most MPs would be happy with that?
I hope so.
On AV?
I would. Well, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Thank you very much.
How prescient those words would later prove to be. For Gordon Brown's late afternoon statement meant it was now game on.
It's just after 5:10 and it's very difficult to know where to go next or indeed where this story goes next. Gordon Brown's dramatic intervention certainly changes things. For the last 2 or 3 days we've all been assuming it's about a deal between the Conservatives and the Lib Dems. But now there does seriously seem to be the possibility, the alternative possibility, of a deal between Labour and the Lib Dems.